So now that we've gotten a little bit of the background and rationale behind the creation of the Center for Education Innovations, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about how you can engage with the center and how the center can engage with you and how we hope that will happen. And the fun part will be navigating our website a little bit. So I hope that you all have had a chance to visit the site and take a look at your profiles and maybe poke around a little bit more. But if not, I'll do a couple demonstrations of how you can use the site. But first, I wanted to touch on the approach of CEI towards documenting and analyzing what works in non-state education. So we have three main components of that approach: identify, analyze, and connect. And the first two are pretty straightforward. Identify is finding the programs and profiling them and finding out, what you all do and how you do it and what works, what you see coming out of your programs. Analyze is about looking at that growing body of programs in the database and identifying trends in what works and trying to analyze that and disseminate that sort of analytical information for you all to use to potentially improve how you do what you do, to share that with the other stakeholder groups that Nick described, to help them make informed decisions. But the third component of the approach is really what I find to be the most exciting, and that's the connect piece. So connect, as Nick mentioned, is connecting you all with each other, connecting you with other stakeholder groups, but it also encompasses how you engage with the center. So there's two real ways that you can engage with the center. There's an online piece and an offline piece. And we really hope to make both of these really active and participatory, that sort of collaborative learning that we all have heard so much about in education these days. So the online piece, well, first of all, I'd like to disagree with my boss here when he says not too many countries. We actually have almost 140 profiles over 26 countries right now. And that's just at launch. So I actually think that's pretty exciting. And that's continually growing. We have over 30 from India, over 30 from our two other first country hubs, Kenya and South Africa, and about 50 from other parts of the world. We also have over 300 publications in our research and evidence library, which you can browse as well. And all of these programs and publications are all cross-tagged so that when you use our search tools, you can find both programs that are relevant to what you're looking for as well as publications. So I'll just take you through a couple of different ways that you can go through the website. So the first is that you can browse what's on the site. And there are two main ways to do this. So if we scroll down to this wonderful map, you can browse by country or you can browse by topic. So the topic is pretty straightforward. If you click on one of these topics, I'm not going to do it now, you'll find a list of programs that are relevant and a list of publications that are relevant. You can also browse by country. So we'll zoom in on this handy little map. Maybe use India as an example. And click there. But also, at the top, you can add in topics. So you can browse by country and topic. So actually I've used this recently for my own research on another project. I was looking for skills programs in India. So I can type in skills, click on skills for work, apply. And it'll give me a list of all the programs we have that are tagged for skills for employability, which is pretty exciting and useful. The second way that you can look through the database is by searching. So there's also two different ways you can search. On both the programs and research and evidence tabs, you can do an in-depth search of both of these databases. So on the left side here, you can type in different criteria and click apply, and it'll bring up a list of programs that are relevant to your criteria. The second way that you can search is simply using the broader site-wide search tool, which is up here in the right top corner. And interestingly, I used this yesterday because I was visiting Pratham Books, and we had a really great meeting where we were learning about their low-cost book program, but also learned a little bit about their Reading for Joy campaign, which they're currently implementing. And I thought of another program that I had heard about in South Africa, but I couldn't remember what the name was. So I typed in Reading Campaign. and it brought up the Nalibali Reading for Enjoyment campaign, which is in South Africa. And if you click on it, it'll take you to the profile. And you can learn all about what Nalibali is doing and potentially some areas for learning there. So those are just a couple of the ways that you can browse the site, which I've personally already found very useful, and hopefully you will too. So you can see that this is a way that you can engage with both programs in your country as well as programs more globally. And the site is really the global hub. This is where you come to find out about programs and publications that are relevant to countries outside of India. But the second way that you can engage, this offline piece, is really going to be the most relevant and important, especially in the beginning as we're continuing to build the database. And this is really going to be driven by CMS. So I won't talk too much about it right now because I know that Vijay later will be telling you about a lot of the exciting activities that they have in store for India. But in general, it might be workshops, it might be trainings, all with content driven by you. It's a demand-driven model. It's really seeking to be responsive to what you need and what you want to learn about. Hopefully, they'll also be proactively making connections between programs where they think there might be opportunities for collaboration, for learning, and that sort of thing. So really, I wanted to close by telling you a story that I recently experienced when I was visiting our South Africa hub in Cape Town. I did some site visits with them. One morning we visited an organization that's running a bridging year program for post-secondary students that need a little bit of tutoring and mentoring before entering the workforce or entering higher education. Heard a lot of great, interesting things about them. This was based in a township called Philippi in Cape Town. And then we drove about 5 minutes down the road, taking the program director with us to this other program, which runs a computer lab training center for teachers, where you can also bring full classes in to learn about ICT pedagogical tools and to teach students how to use ICT in their daily work. And the program director from the first program introduced himself to the guy from the second program and said, "Hey, we've never heard of you before." And I'm thinking in my head, these guys are right down the block from one another. So it really showed me that this tool can be really, really useful, not just for finding out what's happening globally, but potentially also what's happening across the street. And I also got into a conversation with a colleague here who was saying the same thing. You know, we're all working in similar spaces, but we might not all know one another, even if we're just down the street. So we're hoping that in addition to using the tool as a global resource, you can also use this platform, both online and offline, to find out what others like you are doing in India. So I encourage you to engage in both these ways with the platform. And as Nick said, please come to us, come to CMS with your feedback and what you'd like to see, because really this is an evolving tool, especially right now in the early days. So please do be in touch, and I hope you enjoy the presentations from your colleagues coming up next. Thank you.